What is up, guys? Awesome. So we already have some of you guys commenting. I'm just going to make a quick repeat. So for anyone who joined a little bit late or just joined, we have all of you guys in the discussion kind of talking about the biggest goal and the biggest struggle that you have in your fitness business. So we're getting a lot of things around wanting to get more clients, wanting to get more leads, and wanting to really just maximize the app in general by being able to increase clientele. So today's webinar is specifically focused on content marketing, which is a way to be able to generate new leads and clientele. But a 1 hour webinar can only cover so much. So throughout this, as you guys have questions very particular to the things you're currently struggling with, and if you feel that they're not answered, I'm going to do a quick Q&A by the end, just to bring some clarity to you guys throughout. You guys can kind of let me know from there. So I'm going to share a screen. I'm not sure if you guys can see my face when I share a screen, but I'm going to share a screen and then we're going to get started. Awesome. Okay, awesome. All right, guys, if you can see the entire screen, just give me a yes so I can make sure everyone is seeing the screen, and then we'll get started. We have the comments being monitored as well, so I'm going to stop share every few minutes just because I can't see you guys' comments as we go through this, so I can make sure I'm interacting with you guys. Biggest thing today, content marketing and how to use social media to consistently attract high ticket clients. I know one person was asking, I like the volume model. I like having a big community, but I don't know where that fits into high ticket and low ticket. So that's something we're going to discuss as well. So I'm going to give you guys a quick intro of like who the hell is even Sarah and why are we going through this? So I was a personal trainer in corporate gyms for about 12 years. I was working really, really long shifts. So anyone who didn't have their own business before doing this, you guys are probably super familiar with this. I was trading dollars for hours and I just was not happy. So I had a phase, I'm pretty intense. You guys throughout the course of this, I'm very straight up and I don't know how to sugarcoat things. So I dropped out of college, paid a coach $10K at the time that I didn't have. And I opened my own gym and moved out of my parents' house all within like a week span. But I really, really needed to get out of the hustle life. So what I actually ended up doing by opening this gym was creating a really high paying but high stress job for myself because I was working 14-hour days. I was producing a lot of conversions into sales, paid advertising, incredibly cheap at the time, and the ROI, return on investment, was really crazy high. It was easy to close in-person clients for anyone who has had the discrepancy between closing in-person clients and online clients. You know the difference, and I needed more time freedom. So what I ended up doing was I did shut down the gym and I decided to start from scratch online. And after by the way, when I shut down the gym, I had prior to that gone to this speaking event in Hollywood because I thought that it was going to help me with my fitness business. And when I went to that event, I realized that me leaving for 4 days was detrimenting the growth of my business. And that made me realize how much I am the growth of the business, which is a problem in and of itself because it gets you caught up in golden handcuffs to the point where you literally cannot leave. And as soon as you stop operating in the business shut down. That's not a business, right? And so after 2 years of the struggle and the trial and error, I grew an online fitness business to multiple six figures using systems that ourselves as well as our clients use to this day. And so I'm going to dive into some of those strategies that we have used. Again, like I said, I can only go into so much, but I'm going to try to answer all of your guys' questions related or not related to this in the context of lead generation and closing deals. Okay. So first thing, repetition drives revenue, right? So a lot of times people will say, and we've had a lot of clients who will say, I've been posting this many weeks of content, but it's not working. I'm not getting clientele, right? So if we're speaking directly about content marketing, which is one of various ways to generate clientele, and I'll go into all the different ways, If you post for a period of time that's relatively short and expect to immediately get high ticket clients, if you are not yet known as a well-known brand, is not going to happen, right? It takes time to do that, and it's the unsexy answer, but there's a lot of ways to go around this to be able to actually generate high ticket clients. So if any of you guys are online or on Instagram and on Facebook, you probably see ads all day of like, make 30K in 90 days, do this in 90 days. Sure, of course, it's a marketing strategy, but you need to know that across social media, if you do not yet have a platform, that's okay. But the expectation needs to be that repetition is what drives revenue, not posting 2-3 weeks, having some level of inconsistency, no message that stands out, and then expecting clientele. So knowing that it takes 7 times for a prospect to see something before they take any action at all. And that's not like using your booking link to book a call. That's like before they like your stuff, before they interact with your stuff, before they maybe send you a message, before they show some kind of interest or opt into a free webinar or to a free Facebook group or whatever it is that you're doing, 7 times before they take any action at all, right? So you need to keep doing these things over and over again in order to start seeing results with it. So consistent communication is necessary when you first start via one-on-one. So this could be, and this doesn't mean like slide in someone's DMs and or hundreds of people's DMs and ask them to buy your stuff, as contrary to anyone who's probably done any program, that's what they've been told. What it means is that you are building relationships with people. And you guys will notice this about me. I'm going to make a lot of relationship analogies because I think that they relate, right? You cannot, if you're a guy or a girl, whatever, and if you're pursuing someone, you cannot go out to them and you actually want to date them. You cannot go out to them on the first run and say, hey, like, you know, you want to be my girlfriend, you want to be my boyfriend? Like, it's not going to happen. It takes time. You got to get to know them. You got to know their characteristics, what they like, what you don't like. You got to see if it's a fit both ways. All these different things is how you build a relationship, an intimate relationship with another partner. So how can we expect that if we slide on someone's DMs on the first go, second go, they're going to immediately want to work with us in some magical way? That's just not how it works, right? So what is then the step-by-step process to creating content that actually converts? Okay, so number one, you need to know your avatar, right? You need to know your client. Like, by the way, avatar is just your client persona, right? You can call them different things, client persona, avatar, ideal client, whatever you want to call it. But you need to know them like the back of your hand. So what keeps them up at night? Who do they envy? What do they want more than anything? What social media platforms do they currently hang out on, right? Where are they? That's super important. And then this, I really need to press on this because I have seen so often that we see someone else, another coach, another trainer, another yoga instructor, whatever, posting something. And then we go and create some kind of variation of that is like a little bit maybe different or completely the same, and expect to get results. And we all end up, what does that end up doing? It makes us all sound exactly like each other. I'm going to take a quick pause. I want you to give me a yes if you currently have trouble knowing how to stand out from different coaches in the marketplace. And I'm going to take a look at the comments. Just give me a yes if you don't know how to stand out from other coaches in the current in the marketplace right now. So Kevin says yes. Abby says yes, yes, yes. And if it's a no, just give me a no too, just so I have an idea. That's okay as well. All right, we're getting a lot of yeses. Chris says no. Awesome, Chris. And whoever's saying no, so King Lunik says yes. So whoever's saying no, just give me what would you say is different about your positioning than everyone else? Let me know. So we have Chris who said no and JC said no. Lamar said no too. So let me know what's different. Simplicity. Okay, cool. Could expand on that a little bit. Yes. Okay. The majority of you are having a hard time, right? Dorian says, yes, speaking to pain points, yes, and hate coming off sales. Oh yeah, that's such a big one. Such a big one. I'm going to really quickly address that, Julian. I have like an entire presentation on sales, so it's completely different. But I will address that really quickly because it's a big struggle for a lot of us. It's a big pain point for personal trainers, actually. it's this idea of like coming across as salesy. And I think it's such an old thought pattern, because if you come across as salesy, it doesn't work. Like, it no longer works. The pushy approach no longer works. The only sale for the next 24 hours no longer works, right? The strategies behind them still work, like limitedness, scarcity, urgency, sure. But there's a way to position things under the same conceptual umbrella that doesn't seem super aggressive. And it's the same thing as any of you guys. Like, if someone tries to sell you into something and they're super aggressive about it or pushy about it, are you going to be turned on or are you going to be turned off? Okay. And this is me going back to the relationship analogy. If you're a guy in the bar and you go up to a girl on the first night and you say, "Hey, baby, you want to come home with me?" She's going to look at you like you're a weird creep, right? And she's going to do that because, like, you didn't warm her up at all, right? And so, like, you need to be able to do that to be able to actually potentially get that girl to come home with you, or at least show some level of charm. So the exact same thing with this. Like, if the pushy approach does not work, no matter what you're doing, whatever result you're trying to see. So if we know that doesn't work, if there's someone that's teaching you a pushy approach, whatever they're teaching is incorrect, because it's not going to work. You can try it yourself and see if you get results. Most of the time you don't. And most of the time we feel icky about it because we know that person ends up pushing back as a result. But we think we have to do it because someone told us we have to do it. So there's a tasteful way of doing it and a tasteless way of doing it. Okay. Okay, let me take a look at this while I was ranting. Able to break down complex fitness concepts, their simple form, and win a way people can relate. I don't know what you mean by win a way people can relate. Find a way that people can relate to it, I assume. Being niche specific, keeping it simple, targeting specific target audiences, cover problems they all have. That's important. Yeah, you guys know about the pain points, that's for sure. It's that first hello, thank you for liking, engaging my post. Awesome. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to this. All right. Here we go. Let me go back onto the slide we were on. Okay, so here we were. So don't sound like everyone else, right? So how do you not sound like everyone else? There's 3 ways. First, you have to do your market research. So you have to find out. I had a client call yesterday, and she said, "Sarah, I know this sounds lame, but I just don't know how to stand out." I said, "This doesn't sound lame. It sounds like every single problem that many coaches have," right? And so the goal is, what is the current issue in the market? What are the weak points in the market? And then how can I create direct, unique messaging based on the weak points in the market? And I will give you guys some examples because I hate when things are super abstract and not applicable. So I want to make sure you guys can apply everything. So does anyone know about blue ocean versus red ocean? Give me a yes if you have an idea between blue ocean, red ocean strategy. I think it was by Russell Brunson, but I'm not sure if he was the first person who came up with it. So give me a yes if you know about blue ocean versus red ocean strategy, and I'm going to dive into some of these other concepts first. So market research. If you do your market research, if you have done your market research, you're going to know the weak points in the industry. And there's many of them. I can point them out to you because I've had thousands of fitness clients, right? One is the fast diet culture. So, you're going to have these pills and this shake and this cleanse, and it's going to get you immediate results. It's the promotion of consistent binge restrict, consistent gain weight and lose weight. If you look at the statistics, the majority of people who diet end up putting on more weight than they had originally lost, right? Use these statistics to your advantage because it's going to show why X, Y, and Z types of strategies don't work and how you can do them completely different, right? These are just a few examples of things that are weak in the marketplace, and I can give you a list of 20. But you need to be able to, before you do anything, and if you've skipped the steps, go back, because you need to find out what the weak points in the market are in order for you to stand out. A lot of you guys at the beginning of this said your biggest thing is getting leads, right? So if your biggest thing is getting leads and then converting them into clientele, you know how you get leads? By not like everyone else, by being able to differentiate yourself. Whether that's via personality marketing, whether that's via pointing out the flaws in the current dietetics system and the diet industry system and the way that they operate, whether it's building a reliance on their program. So I'll give you a Weight Watchers example and how it's based on point systems. Okay, what happens when someone goes off of that point system? Well, they gain all the weight back because they have no idea how to include that into their life and lifestyle. And so they end up relapsing, right? So many of these things are the same. Why are we not talking about these comparisons consistently? Why are we not using this as part of our branding? I'll give you one other example. And it's not about whether you believe in it or don't believe in it. It's about just finding the differences about you and then promoting that. So I'm not saying I agree or don't agree with this. It's not really my point here. My point is there's a company, and she's actually has a multi-million-dollar business in Australia. And her promotion is consistently don't eat broccoli, drink lots of apple juice, have liver and oysters, blah, blah, blah. So she has ads that she runs that are why broccoli is the worst thing in the world. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but like messaging like that. Okay, cool. We can agree or disagree, but what does that do? It's something that stands out. It's something that's polarizing. It's something that's blue ocean and not red ocean. See, red ocean is where all the sharks swim. That's where everyone is. You don't want to be there. You want to be in the blue ocean where nobody else is and nobody else is eating each other. She created a blue ocean for herself by creating messaging that's completely different than everyone else. These are and you guys don't need to come up with the answer on the spot because these aren't things that you can immediately like do, because you have to think about them because they take time, and that's why most people don't do them. But when you do it one time and teach yourself to stand out, you never have to do it again. Versus keeping yourself in the red ocean for the entirety of your business and then consistently getting eaten up by other sharks. Okay. Is that making sense so far, guys? I'm just gonna give me a yes if this is making sense, and then let me know if there's any questions. I'm gonna pause real quick and just see if you guys are still with me. So is this making sense? Give me a yes if this is making sense. If you have any questions, let me know too. Hope, let me know what you didn't understand. I'll clarify for you. Trevor says yes. Everyone else says yes. Very interesting. Yes, this makes sense. How to find your avatar niche. Oh, that's a good question. Cool. What's the difference between blue ocean and red ocean? Red ocean is where, so it's an analogy to describe the market. So red ocean is where all the sharks are swimming. Blue ocean is where none of the sharks are swimming. When they're swimming there, they're all eating at each other. That's why we call it a red ocean. So how do we apply that to marketing is if you're messaging, the way that you market your services and the way that you do everything is deliberately and completely the same in many cases to all the other coaches out there, you're in the red ocean, right? But if you're able to create differing messaging that stands out, that isn't like anybody else, you're in the blue ocean because now you don't have that much competition. But what happens is a lot of us coaches, we have all these limiting beliefs around, I'm not different. I can't do this different. I am just doing what everyone else is doing. You look at the app that you're using, you look at the nutrition that you're doing, you look at you doing, macro-based dieting or whatever it is that you're doing, you say, I'm not different, right? But we don't ever think outside of the box of what are a few tweaks that I can make? They can just make me stand up just a little bit, right? And I'm going to give you guys one other example. And I don't want every single person in the world to go now use this, but it's one example of many different things that you absolutely can do, right? So for example, I was speaking to another client the other day and I said, what about if you partner with, X and Y lab and you do allergy testing or DNA testing that predicts what they can and can't eat and how their body will respond to that. And based off of that, you give them a nutrition plan that's directly related to how their individual body works. And what if that becomes part of your messaging as to how you do things different than everyone else, right? That's one example. It's one small thing that will make all the difference in the world. Now there's hundreds of them. You just have to think outside of the box instead of everyone looking at each other and then recreating the same content based on what we saw of the other person. Oh, this person's doing workouts, I'm going to do workouts. This person promotes flexible dieting, I'm going to promote flexible dieting. And then we just create different versions of ourselves over and over because we're copying from each other. And what that creates is a hard time getting clients, a hard time getting leads, and a hard time converting. Because even if you get a lead and you hop on a call and you say, hey, I'm going to give you a customized plan based on macros and we need to get you into thermogenesis or whatever we call these things, it's the same thing, right? It's not like they haven't heard that before. I'm going to give you guys one last example. I'll go back to the slide. When ketosis first came out as an incredibly popular thing, which it was around way longer than that, but it wasn't mainstream. So when it first came out, it wasn't at the level of non-believable. So I'm going to give you an example. Non-believable is if you look at the moon every night for the next 30 days, you're going to lose 20 pounds. What is believable is if you eat fat, you're going to lose 30 pounds. That sounds super weird, but I'm intrigued. How if I eat fat and no carbs, I'm going to lose 30 pounds? It's on the border, but it's not to the point of crazy, right? And just giving you guys this example to get your brains going as to how you can do different things. Now, you don't need to create a different version of ketosis. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying to start thinking about how you can do things slightly different and then promote how that's different via your messaging, okay? Trevor, should we be doing this on a personal page or a business page or both? Definitely on both, but it really depends on how you want to brand. If you want to brand as a personal brand, then most of your things should come on your personal page. If you don't want to brand as a personal brand, then you can do it via business page, but it also depends on your platform. So for example, Facebook promotes engagement at higher levels if it's on a personal page versus a business page. Instagram does the same thing. So keeping that in mind when you're doing all this stuff. Okay, so I hope that answered the question. I'm gonna go back and keep going. I promise I'll answer some other questions as we continue to go. So we'll do a Q&A at the end. Awesome. All right, so let me expand this real quick. So picking your platform, where do you enjoy the most? Where do your ideal clients hang out? How can you create owned media using this platform? So owned media is your email list, it's your text list, it's your blog, it's your podcast. So it's okay if you don't have an owned media right now. You can create owned media via Fitbud as well, right? But you need to be able to create those things because if, for example, Instagram goes down one day or whatever it might be, like you have access to these and these are assets that you have for the rest of your career that you can use, that you can actually sell, right? And that's really, really important thing to think about, okay? So like we just talked about, using unique angles and messaging. So we talked about this already. All right, so I'm giving you guys a few examples. So example one, so I have an influencer marketing agency and I did everything that I'm teaching you guys right now. And so the first thing I did was I did market research on all the different agencies out there. And I said, okay, what is it that they're doing? What is it that they're not doing? How is it that we're going to be completely different than them? And then how can I constantly illuminate that via the website, via social media, via differing platforms, via PR, whatever it might be, right? And one of the ways, there are many, but one of the ways that I did that was I said, okay, it seems like these influencer marketing agencies are all promoting to brands these different things, but none of them are interviewing the actual influencer. So what I did is I created a series called Behind the Scenes with Influencers, where I interviewed different influencers on their side of the relationship that they're building with the brand, because nobody else was doing that. And so you might think, hey, how is this related to me, Sarah? It's related in every way because the concept is the exact same. You just have to apply that directly to your coaching business, okay? So I'm going to give you another one, which is directly related to you guys, and that's personality marketing and a client we had called the Apple Pie Fit Chick, okay? So another way to do it is via personality marketing. So we used to have a client, her name was Apple Pie Fit Chick. She was super jacked, super ripped. She would always wear this sports bra, and you could see like the muscles coming out of her arms. And she would go inside of her private group every single week. She'd have like an entire tray of apple pie, and she'd grab a spoon. She'd go live in the video, and she'd talk about like all of the myths of dieting and how they're wrong and how you can eat X and Y thing and what you actually need to do. And she would myth bust the entire time while she's sitting there with a massive tray of apple pie, the entire thing. And she did that every single week. And she literally became known as the Apple Pie Fit Chick. She was able to like 6X her clientele doing something like that, right? And that's a way to stand out, right? I had a really quick one. This was actually food that I got literally last week. And that you can see it says, let's get baked. I'm like, oh, that's really freaking good marketing, right? Like the messaging in and of itself stands out, right? Let's get baked. It has two different connotations. That's something that I'm going to remember. These are things that you want to figure out, okay, like how can I create messaging that's highly memorable, right? And then go from there. And that's really, really important. So for example, different slogans are memorable. Subway, eat fresh. We all know about that. Why do we remember that, right? Why? Because it was said in a certain way with a different tonality, and that rhythm we remember, and every single commercial had that. So creating a memorable experience, and I can give you like 10 other examples that are like that, but I think half of them will be Canadian, and I don't know if you guys are in different places. So I'm just gonna stick with that one. Everyone knows Subway. All right. Sorry, this is overlapping a little bit when it downloaded, but your business needs to have the MLR factor. So what does that mean? You can see at the bottom, memorable, likable, and results focused, right? So memorable. This is based on your messaging specifically. So it's what we just talked about. Likable. These are your unique character traits and characteristics that will create polarity. And then results focused is nobody cares about the process, they care about the results. So that's why when many of you get on, I'm not saying all of you, but when many of you get on these sales calls and you say, I'm going to create personalized programs for you, and it's going to have this macro-based stuff, and we need to get you in a caloric deficit, we need to up your muscle, like, they've heard that, right? They've heard that on different calls. So I'm not saying don't say those things. I'm just saying also create unique messaging that helps you stand out, because otherwise, whether it's on a sales call, whether it's in your marketing, whether it's on your website, whether it's in your messaging, you'll sound like everyone else. And if you do, you're gonna have a hard time getting sales. If you guys can see the theme here. Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause before I go into the only 6 ways of getting clients and see if there's any questions. I'm going to pause real quick. So if there's any, and let me look at some of these questions. Scott, how do we target an audience and push pain points in any way that is not offensive but confrontational enough? Well, first thing, I'm not sure what you mean by how do we target an audience. So let me know what you mean by that. But I will answer the second part. So first of all, we're not pushing anything, right? So never, just remove the word push from your vocabulary when it comes to generating clientele. Anytime you're generating clientele, you are asking the right questions so that they come up with their own answer. Think about therapy. I don't know if any of you have done therapy, mindset coaching, whatever you want to call it. They're not telling you what to do. They're not telling you what to think. And think about any time someone has told you what to think, how to think, what they should and what they shouldn't. What do? We get on the defense. We're immediately like, don't tell me what, like, no, you're going to defend your position. Even if you have doubts in your position, your ego is going to want to defend your position. So if they come up with their own answers, that's their idea. That's their ideology. So your job isn't to push anything, but your job is to ask the right questions so that they come to their own realization as to whether they need something or not. Okay. And in terms of not confrontational or offensive, I think no matter what you do, in this day and age, and this is an opinion, you're going to get offense unless you're vanilla, which we call vanilla marketing, which is you're staying neutral. You're not on one side, you're not on the other side. But what vanilla marketing does is get no clients. So if you don't want to be polar, you don't want to create a polarized message where you have a specific stance on a specific thing, then sure, you won't get any confrontation. But if you are having a polarized message, so for example, why, and again, this is nothing I believe in, don't believe in, I'm just giving you guys examples. Why keto is the best diet to losing 20 pounds or more in 2023. And everything you do is promoting why everything else sucks and keto is the best. What are you going to have? You're going to have a set of raving fans, people who love you and believe in you because you promote keto, which is what they believe into. And you're going to have a set of people who completely disagree with you and are going to try to use studies against you. This is the issue here, is we're too scared of creating that polarity, but that's what creates clientele. That's what creates culture. That's what creates people to want to work with you because you have an opinion and a say, and you're not afraid to stand up for that thing that you truly and genuinely believe in. So we do need to create polarity within our messaging. And I'm not saying go be aggressive or rude or do it in a distasteful way, but I'm saying stand up for what your beliefs are and what your opinions are. And the people who believe you, genuinely agree with your thought patterns will be on your side. And you're going to create what's called raving fans, the type of raving fans that like paint themselves in team colors. Those are the kind of fans that you're going to create. But on the opposing end, you're going to create people who also don't love you. But that is the entire premise of having polarized messaging. And it's really important to generate clientele. I hope that answered your question, Scott. Abby, Facebook groups are better than biz pages based on algorithms. And personal pages are also better than biz pages based on algorithms. That's like the guy from V-Shred saying you can eat carbs and donuts and lose weight. Sure, that's true. But I would argue that even that is starting to become mainstream, because what happened is a few people started doing that and then everyone started copying everyone else again. So the eat whatever you want, I don't think there's a single person on here who has not heard eat whatever you want, right? So even that, what used to be somewhat unique is no longer unique, okay? Okay, that made sense. Saliva gives people hope. Yeah, absolutely. So again, don't do something that's, by the way, that in your opinion is a lie, right? Because, you know, at this point, nutrition and fitness and evidence around that is literature around it is all over the place. I don't care about that. I care that you believe in whatever it is that you're promoting and that you can do it in a way that's polarized and messaging is different. So don't do something just because it's different. Do it because you believe in it and it happens to be different, or that you learn to strategically position it in a different way so that you can stand out, okay? Always, always stick with something, always. All right, let's go back. Okay, awesome, here we go. So let's talk about the only 6 ways to get clients, okay? So I briefly touched on this before, but I think we overcomplicate what it takes to generate clientele, okay? And there's only 6 main ways to bring in clientele. And we're gonna dive in. First way is earned media. So that's your content attracting prospects. That's entire this webinar is about, right? There's a multitude of ways, but this is what we're talking about today. Own media. We briefly talked about this. These are things that you actually own, like your email list, your text list, your Facebook group, members in it. But Facebook group can somewhat be negotiable because that can shut down too. Affiliates, partnerships. So partnering with a company that hosts your ideal client. For example, if you're targeting real estate professionals, then you can partner with Keller Williams. For example, I am a business coach that helps different coaches get results. And one of our partners, as you can see, is Fitbut. Another one of our partners is ACE. Another one of our partners is BCRPA, right? We have differing partnerships with people who provide mutually beneficial relationships. We provide something to them and they provide something to us. And this happens across the board, across large organizations and smaller organizations. So if you don't yet have partners, what are some ways that you can create those? Who can you partner with? Is it meal prep companies? Is it differing gyms who maybe their trainers don't offer nutrition as an option? Like who, and you can make many lists of all the people who hold your ideal client, whom you can offer a piece of value to, that they can offer you one in return. So really keeping in mind, making your list and then starting to build those relationships. And of course, you need to find out how to build those relationships. Referrals, word of mouth. So this one's really important. And for some reason, some of us don't take advantage of this. So it's the only type of lead generation strategy that's quadratic and not linear. What do I mean by that? For example, I know that for every 1,000 people, and these are numbers I'm making up, for every 1,000 people on my email list, we get 5 clients. I know every time I spend $100 on my email, on my paid advertising, I get, for example, 50 leads. I would know that, and what it is I spend this much, I do this much. I have this many numbers, I get this result. It's linear in nature. Referrals are quadratic. So what does that mean? 2 people tell 4 people, 4 people tell 8 people, 8 people tell 12 people, 12 people tell 20 people, and it keeps growing and growing at an incredibly rapid rate. But for whatever reason, many of us don't take advantage of this, but it's just something to keep in mind. 5th one is the most classic one that every, so-and-so, quote unquote guru wants to promote, and that's DM outreach. So reaching out to everyone and their dog and then trying to get them on the close. The same thing is like, I don't know, the girl example, you meet someone in the bar and then you immediately try to get them to come home with you without having any charm, any not being funny, whatever, right? So it's the same here. Sure, you should be doing DM outreach. Sure, you should be building relationships with people. But if your first message is, hey, I do this and this, if you need support, reach out to me, then you're gonna consistently have trouble with that, right? So the right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. The methodology isn't exactly right or wrong per se. It's how you go about the methodology. And the 6th one is paid ads. That could be TikTok, could be Google, it could be Instagram, it could be Facebook, right? For fitness coaches, health coaches, anyone in that area, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the most profitable is going to be via Facebook and Instagram, which is essentially the same platform. So Google typically doesn't work. TikTok can work, but the most profitable right now is Facebook and Instagram. But, and I'm saying this with a big but, if you are not yet like super good at sales, and if you are not yet super good at messaging, then you have no business yet running paid ads. Because what's going to happen is you're going to spend a bunch of money, you're going to waste the money, you're not going to be able to convert, and then you're going to think that Facebook ads don't work or whatever it might be, and then you're going to be upset and maybe want to quit. Either way, what it takes for paid advertising to work is, sure, you need to have the right funnels, sure, you need to have the right messaging, and that all needs to look good. But when you get on a call with a prospect that we call cold, so not yet, doesn't have the no like and trust factor yet, you need to learn the skill of converting that person consistently, because once you know how to convert cold prospects, you never run out of leads again. But if you don't have that skill, you're going to keep spending money and then losing the money because you're not closing deals. So you need to learn these skills before you start running paid ads. I'm going to take a quick pause again, and I'm just going to see if there's any questions. That's it. All right, so Chris, can our public gym be part of our social network, or is that infringing on gym policies? Do you mean like the gym that you go to work out in, Chris? Or what do you mean by that? Yes. Okay. That really depends on the gym. You would have to ask the gym. So you just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Am I allowed to film in here? Am I allowed to do this in here? Many gyms don't mind. Some gyms are a little bit more strict about it, especially if it's like a boutique gym or something like that. They're typically a little bit more strict about it. One thing I will say that's not at all related to this, but it does relate to recording in a gym. Lighting, guys. Lighting. Like, we can't post in like what looks like a dungeon and wonder why we have no engagement if we're posting on a visual platform like TikTok on Instagram, right? Like, that just doesn't work anymore. There's too much competition to be posting low quality content. And I used to think, this is something I was wrong about, that it didn't matter to just get started, but it does matter. It absolutely does. In real time. Can you show me how you would convert me as a cold call in real time when you have a minute? Yeah, that would be like a full 60-minute call. So I'm not sure I can directly do that right now because we're pretty limited on our timing. I'm trying to get this through this webinar. But you can send me a message if you want on Instagram or something, and I can try to help you out. It's just Safari Sarah. So like you're going on Safari, but 2 Fs and then Sarah with an H. I can see if I can help you out. All right, that was to fitness, nutrition, accountability. Let's go back. Cool. We're almost done, guys. All right, so not all of these methods are meant for you, and all of them are perfectly valid, but find what aligns works best for you. Why did I say that? I just want to give you guys a really quick story. When I first started, I had no business knowledge whatsoever. Like, I knew nothing about business. I did a health science degree, and I was going to go into either, at that time, I thought I was going to either be a doctor or a physical therapist, right? I had no knowledge of business, right? And so I always struggled, and I always paid different coaches, and every different coach said, do this method, and as long as you do this method, it's going to work. The issue with that theory is that not every method works for every single person. It's the same way as if you take on a client and you give them all a generic program that's exactly the same, and you say, as long as you follow this guideline, it's going to work. Sure, to some degree it might, but maybe this person has allergies. Maybe they have an underlying condition that's not helping them. Maybe they just don't like that kind of food and they can't maintain it long term because they don't like that kind of food. There's so many different factors that relate to what strategy works for what person. And there's nothing that I hate more than seeing a coach that says, you're going to grow your business with your Facebook group. You're going to grow your business with paid advertising. You're going to grow your business by posting on Instagram. Whatever it might be, it's like, no, you grow your business in how you want to grow your business. And my goal as your coach is to help you figure out what that best way is for you based on the current assets that you have, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what we can see work for you long term. That's what someone's supposed to do. Telling you to do something just based on the fact that it works has no merit or credibility whatsoever, because there's a million different ways to skin a cat. But if you don't skin it in a way that works for you, then what's going to happen? You're going to fall off, you're going to feel bad, you're going to start all over again and constantly get stuck. So keeping that in mind is really important. All right, standing out from the crowd. So what trainers think sells versus what actually sells. Guys, this is kind of what I talked about a little bit, but I do think it's important to hit this home. So here's what you guys, many of the times, again, I'm making a vast generalization, but so keep that in mind. But also that vast generalization is based on working with thousands of trainers at this point and also being one myself. So talking about deliverables, talking about the science behind the results. By the way, deliverables, for anyone who has no idea what I'm talking about, is like, yeah, I'm going to get you on this nutrition platform, I'm going to get you on this app, then I'm going to hold you accountable, then I'm going to have one-on-one calls with you. Sure. Those are things that you can express and you should, but it can't be a reason for selling the product. What you need to be doing is the opposite, is selling the result, never the vacation, right? So I'm going to give you guys a really quick analogy. When you go to Maui or Hawaii, somewhere in Hawaii or to Mexico or whatever you want to call some beach vacation, and your friend says, hey, how was it? You don't say, I have to sit on this like 7-hour plane ride, and then it was really, really tight, and the food was really crappy, and there was someone like breathing all over me and falling asleep, and I felt really bad, and the AC was on. You say, no, like you talk about when they greeted you, and it was super sunny, and the weather was so good, and the beaches had like clear water, and you got greeted with a drink upon arriving. You talk about the good things. You talk about the result. You talk about after you got there and everything that was the result of it. How do you do that now when you're having a sales conversation with a clientele? You promote the result that they want. You stop keeping the centerpiece of the things that are included in the program. That's a byproduct and can be mentioned, but it can't be the heart of everything. Does that make sense, guys? This is really important. Just give me a make sense if this makes sense. I can give you an example if it does not make sense, okay? Give me a make sense if it makes sense. I'll check in a second. So talking about the science behind results, like when a lot of us start talking about in our language, not in their language. I had a client do market research, and one of the things that one of the people that she showed as a competitor was someone who said something like, I help you lose weight without following diet culture, with some nature about diet culture. And I said, what do you think is weak about this? And she said, I'm not sure. I'm like, is diet culture something that typically your ideal client talks about, or is diet culture something typically that coaches and trainers talk about? And she was like, oh, damn, right. I was like, yeah, right. And we can't talk we're not talking, we're not selling each other, right? We're selling to a clientele. And so talking about the laws behind thermogenesis and caloric deficits and biomechanic movement isn't going to resonate with your ideal client. Fitting into their wedding dress in 3 months is going to resonate. Feeling like feel like crap about themselves when they walk up the stairs and can't breathe is going to resonate. Feeling like going from a bad mother to a good mother because now they actually play with their kids at the park after work because they have the energy to, is what they're going to resonate with. Looking in the mirror naked and feeling good about themselves is going to be what's going to resonate with them. Being able to have sex with their partner with the lights on is going to be what resonates with them. Not being afraid and changing in a corner in front of their husband because they're too ashamed of their own body. These are the things that resonate with them, not SI joints, right? And I say this somewhat comically, but it is the reality, right? And so what actually sells is, and it should be in here, is really being able to resolve their main problem: connection, accountability, support, and feeling cared for. And this is something that I'll dive into later, so I won't too much right now. I am going to pause really quick and see if this is all making sense for you guys before I continue. Yeah. So Scott says, can you give me an fitness example of the vacation story? Yeah, let me give you one right now. So I think I may have just done that as before you asked it, but I'm going to do one right now. So let's say we have a client on the phone and they want to lose 20 pounds for their wedding or whatever it might be, right? And so by the end of the call, I'm going to say, let's say you do talk about the deliverables, but you go back to the result. So by the end of the day, Nancy, we're going to have a few things. I am going to give you access to my customized app. I'm going to be holding you accountable at all times. I know you mentioned Weight Watchers didn't work for you before. So what we're going to do is actually create a plan that feels attainable to you. And we're going to go through that one step at a time. And I'm going to hold your hand throughout this whole thing. Now, ultimately, Nancy, the goal of this is to get you fitting in your wedding dress and feeling really, really good. So we're going to do things to make sure you're walking down the aisle. And I know you told me you already bought that dress. You're going to slip right into it and feel really good about doing that. Does that make sense? You go back to the result. The result, because all they want is to fit in that wedding dress. All they want is to look good in the photos. All they want is to feel confident on that special day. Again, this is just an example of many different ones. So if you're going to talk about the deliverables, drive it back to the result. Hopefully that answered that question. Okay, love the results matter process doesn't piece. I'm glad. Scott, perfect. Awesome. Great. All right, let's keep going. Is this helpful, guys? Sometimes I just want to make sure, like, if there's anything missing, just let me know. Your guys' feedback makes a difference. So give me a quick helpful, just if this is like things that are new or helpful or making you kind of brew on things and think about them in a slightly different way, because that's the whole goal here. I got a few before I started sharing screen. Yes, helpful. Awesome. All right, perfect, guys. All right, just stay with me. I'm almost done here. All right, so don't try everything at once. Pick one or two platforms. Develop both long and short-term strategies for each, long-term and short-term. So what do I mean? I have some clients, and many of those clients are like, Sarah, should I be on Threads? Should I be on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram? Like, should I be on all of them at the same time? And the answer is a hell no. Because if you try to do everything at the same time, you're going to half-ass everything that you do. I'm going to say that again. If you try to do everything at the same time, you are going to half-ass everything that you do. So find a few things that you're really good at and stick to those, at least for now. And what happens is we look at some of the biggest companies, agencies, or people who have tons and tons, millions of dollars back behind them, and say, well, they're on every platform. Well, they're on every platform because they're spending $200,000 a month on media, right? If you're not quite there yet, then you focus on a few that are going to bring you the biggest results, and you make sure you get really, really good at those few, okay? And so when I say long and short-term strategies, again, this is another thing, and sorry, I'm just saying the business guru space, but it's kind of ironic that I'm in it, but I also have a lot of things against it. So the business guru space will always push on you short-term. Short-term. Why? Because that's what you guys want, and they're going for your pain points. I'm just being honest, right? What do they want? They know you want sales right away. They know that you want clients right away. They know that you want $10,000 a month right away. Can you do those? Sure, but it's not sustainable if you don't also do long-term strategies. If you don't also build your brand, if you don't also collaborate with other people and strengthen your credibility as a personal brand, if that's what you're trying to do, or as a regular brand, if that's what you're trying to do. Short-term is sales. Short-term is outbound. Short-term is, it could be short-term and long-term is consistent content. Short-term is paid media. Right? Long-term is PR, is brand building, is to spend the time doing the thing we talked about at the beginning of this call. Stand out via your messaging. That's branding, right? Learning to stand out, learning to find out what everyone else says and how is it different. If someone lands on your page, are they going to be immediately intrigued because they haven't seen that before, because something about you like stands out to them? Or is it going to blend in with everyone else? And one of the questions that we don't ask ourselves, and I think I dive into this a little bit later, so sorry if we skip a slide because I'm not necessarily following the slides, is would you buy from yourself if you were a prospect? Do you think your page is good enough? Would you be attracted to that? Would you consume that for free, let alone for money? Would you be in your own Facebook group because you think it's valuable enough? And if the answer to that is yes, like overwhelming yes, and you're not lying to yourself, and that's amazing, keep doing what you're doing. But if you're unsure or it's a no, and you kind of want to get a little bit shy about it, it's just something to think about, right? Like these are just things to think about to make yourself ultimately stronger. And I point these things out not to make anyone feel bad, but to just be honest with yourself and see where you're at so that we can learn from there, improve on there. Because what is the goal here? To get leads, close deals, get leads, close deals, to grow our business, to build big communities, to be able to feel financially free, to help people. All of this requires doing these differing things, right? And then doing them in the right order. All right, so I just saw someone requesting a comment and we're almost done. All right, would you buy from you if you saw you? This was the next slide that I was talking about. And these are just like examples of like pages that I've seen either from clientele or just like random pages. Sometimes you'll see like, you know, a cat lady or something like on there, and it's like, you got 4 posts and you're telling me that no one is responding to your messages. Like, of course no one is responding to your messages, because you're messaging someone on a platform where your social media either looks like a personal blog, it looks like you're just a mom, it looks like you're just a trainer, it looks like all you do is work out, it looks like you're not giving any direct value to the consumer, right? And if you guys don't know what value is, that's something that's, I'm sure many of you know Alex Hormozi turned it into an actual equation, right? So it's getting the bottom part of the equation to as close as 0 as possible. So time delay, how long does it take them to get to the result, and effort and sacrifice? How much effort and sacrifice do they need to make in order to get that result? And the closer you can get that to 0, the more likely you're gonna have prospects that actually wanna buy. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I can try to expand on that, but I wanna get to some Q&As. All right, quick thing, the influencer. So trust is the lubricant of sales. Super important. Why is it the lubricant? Okay, well, think about it this way. Anytime that someone refers you to a doctor, are you going to the doctor that your friend referred you to, or are you going to go to the doctor that Google referred you to? You're going to the doctor your friend referred you to, because there's trust there, right? That's why influencer recommendations are huge. So why do you think sponsorships with influencers even exist? Because if you build the KTL, the know, like, and trust factor, they'll take your word on what's good for them many of the time, right? So okay, and again, this has nothing to do with I want you to be an influencer, I don't want you to be an influencer. That doesn't at all matter. You don't need to be an influencer to generate clientele. I'm just going to keep that clear. If you want to be one, that's a whole different thing. If you want to get followers, a whole different thing. But having followers and getting clientele are not the same thing. I know people with millions and hundreds of thousands of followers whose bank account do not reflect their millions and hundreds of thousands of followers. And I know people with 2,000 followers whose bank accounts substantially reflect a really healthy and good business. So get that part out of your mind a little bit, because the two do not need to walk one path in any way, shape, or form. Okay. But the whole point of this here was you need to build the know, like, and trust factor in order to have someone convert, and that can happen via various ways that we've discussed. Guys, I'm not going to pause for the last 4 slides. I am going to go through these, and then we're going to do a really quick Q&A. I'll let you guys kind of either type it out, or if you guys want to go off your audio and ask me directly, that's totally okay as well. So no worries. All right. I asked you guys this already. What I buy for myself? So often we wonder why we're not getting sales or closing deals, but we never stop and be brutally honest with ourselves. So what types of people do you buy from? Who do you look up to? Are they credible in your eyes? Do they bring value to your life? Probably if you follow them and they're not your friend, it's just someone you follow or look through their content because it does. Does your branding, positioning, and offer do that for other people? And if the answer is I'm not sure or no, we need to take 1 step back so that we can take 3 steps forward. And I'm not doing this because I think it's fun to take a step back. I'm doing this because it'll save you a lot of time, money, and pain to consistently try to promote something that everyone else is doing, okay? All right, so I'm going to do a quick call to action, and then I'm going to open up to Q&A. So if you're looking to grow your personal training business or coaching business of any kind in the health field, there's typically 2 ways of getting there, right? One of them is just to keep doing the different things and try to figure it out yourself, which is obviously one way of doing that. And then the other way of doing that is actually being able to work with someone who has done that thing, who you resonate with, and you can actually see yourself doing the A to Z, getting everything that's necessary to be able to actually grow your fitness business, right? And so one of the things that I've said a lot of the time is that most coaches and guru businesses out there, what they typically focus on is, here's just one strategy. As long as you do this one strategy, you can get all of these results. What we do differently at Momentum Mentors is let's find out what your goal is. Let's find out what your life design is. By life design, I mean, How do you want to accomplish your goals? How do you want to live? Do you want to travel? Do you want to stay at home with your kids? Do you want to just be financial free? And how can we work backwards from that to find the strategies that work for you to get you the result you want and be able to maintain that long term, right? And a lot of these things you see right now, like the 15K in 6 weeks, 7K in 1 week, 20K signing this many clients, $11,000, $23,000. We at this point have hundreds of those, but it's not even about that. Like, this is up there because this is typically what appeals to coaches, but it's not about that. Because if you got 7K in 1 week, but then the next month you didn't get 20K, or you didn't consistently be able to keep getting clients, does it matter? Doesn't matter. It's the same thing as your client. If they ate egg whites and broccoli for a month and they lost 20 pounds, and then once they left your program, they put on 100 pounds because they couldn't maintain that, does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Did you leave them off worse? Yeah, you probably left them off worse. So the goal here and what we do differently is to be able to actually get those results and be able to maintain those results. And the way to do that is to be able to both attack short-term and long-term strategies simultaneously so that you're bringing in consistent money. You're bringing in 5, 10, 20, 30K months, whatever your goal is. We need to work backwards from that. And then at the same time, building the long-term strategies that are going to be able to consistently bring you results long after any other initial strategy you did get to bring in $10, $20, $30,000 months. Okay, so that's really, really important thing to consider. So for anyone who resonates, you can book a call. We're gonna have that put inside. Yes, you got it already? Oh, you just did. Awesome. All right. So if anyone wants to book a call, so what the call is just kind of diving into where you're at now, where you want to be. And then everything in between, like really coming up with a business plan that works for you. So if you're in a position where you really would like the A to Z of building both your short-term and long-term plan in terms of your business, just book a call and we'll have a one-on-one with actually my business partner, Hansika. She's super awesome. And she'll dive into it. If I'm not your cup of tea, good, because there's some people who I shouldn't be the cup of tea for, because that's a whole goal of creating polarizing messages. And then don't book a call. So anyone who is interested, you can go ahead and book a call. Price range depends on what the type of package you need, by the way. So just if you book a call, we'll find out where you're at, and then you'll have the different options for that. So awesome. Okay, I'm gonna pause. If there's any questions on that or booking a call, let me know. If there's any questions anywhere else across the board of things we talked about, I want you guys to just either put them in the chat box, or let me know you want to unmute yourself, and then I'll unmute you. I just don't want everyone talking at the same time or having multiple people talking at the same time. I'm going to pause and drink water. Is there any questions regarding what I spoke about, or what you guys asked that at the beginning that some of you asked that I did not answer that you would like answers to, or different questions that came up throughout this call that you would like answers to? So give me a message if there's any questions, and I'll try to answer them for you guys. I'll wait a minute. If not, we'll close off the webinar. Daniel, what's your Instagram? Would you be able to do a quick audit? Sure. I'll give it to you. Just send me a direct message. Say I'm from BitBud Webinar, and I'll put it in my general inbox. We have a team that runs our inbox, so I'll directly chat with you. Any other questions? I love how there's some of you guys still coming in when the webinar already ended. It's all good. It's recorded. Well, we'll have it for anyone who missed parts of this. Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it because I think that you guys were good on questions, or you guys are a little shy. Okay, we got one. How to create my avatar. Okay, so how to find, well, first, Brandy, you don't create your avatar. You find it, right? So it's finding out who is the ideal client that I want to support the most, and why me, right? Like, what is it that I resonate? So I'll give you some examples. First of all, you don't necessarily need to have a precise avatar. I'm going to bust that myth because you're going to hear every coach out there saying you need to have a specific avatar, and that's actually not true. It's one of two ways to stand out. You either need to have a particular process or message that stands out, or you have a particular avatar. And by means of having a particular message, you narrow your audience, because the entire goal of having an avatar is to narrow your audience so that you're not in this massive pool of people. And when you're in a massive pool, you don't get enough traction. So if you want to find an ideal client, that's the way that you want to do it, then the biggest thing that you need to do is just find out who is it that I resonate with the most, what is my personal background, and how can I help this person? So for example, we have many times we'll get nurse clients who take on other nurse clients. I personally wasn't a nurse, but my ideal client at the time, and many clients I have, were nurses, okay? Or it could be working professionals, or it could be moms, or it could be dads, right? It could be people within a profession, first responders, whatever you want, right? But just remember, it's one of two ways to narrow your audience. And if that's the manner that you choose, find it in an area that you feel confident talking about, right? That's going to be the biggest thing. So hopefully that helped, Randy. And why it's important. How often would I post on social media and why it's important? Okay, so I'm gonna pause the why it's important to watching this webinar, because I think we discussed a lot of reasons about why it's important. I'll answer the how often to post on social media. It's going to be pretty much every day. If you want traction, you need to do the work, right? Most of the coaches are going to tell you that you don't need that much work, but you do. You need to do the work to be successful. And if you do the work, you will be consistently successful. And then you will be able to scale your business and hire it out so that you don't need to do all of the work. That's how business works. Medical admin is my background. Okay, that's really good to know. So you find some kind of ideal client, if you're attracted to that, within the medical field that you think that you can support, that you think you understand more than many other people, more than many other coaches that are on this live today. What are the pain points about those people? And how do you understand them? All right, let's answer one more question. What if you share a piece of content, non-fitness business related, but it still goes viral? Do you reach out to some of those people? So that's a good question. If you share a piece of content that's not fitness business related, you can reach out to those people, because by virtue of volume alone, the chances of you getting a client are there if that has gone viral. But you're also going to have to go through a lot of people who have no interest in becoming a fitness client, because the content is not at all related. So yes, I would go through it if it's a way of lead generating, because volume model always works. But yes, it will also be a lot of work, because a lot of people might not be interested in that. So it's not particular content related to that field. Do we need to have a blue checkmark verified media accounts, and how can we protect ourselves on social media from bots, aka fake accounts? Okay, so if your account is public, this is a good question. I run a social media, an influencer marketing agency, so I can answer that directly. So first, you don't need to have a blue check mark, but second, it does help, because it's still, to this day, maybe it won't be in a year or 2 years, but it's accounted as a level of credibility, just as being on Forbes is accounted as having level of credibility, just as being on CNBC is accounted as that. That's why people flaunt it all the time, because it builds some instant credibility right away. So should you have it? No. Will it help? Probably. You can't protect yourself from bots if you have a public account per se, but up to around 25% fake followers, which is relatively natural because of the problem that you just said. And most people know that, right? It's once you get above that percentage where it becomes very obvious that you purchased either fraudulent engagement or fraudulent followers, which I highly recommend against. Highly recommend against. Of all the clients I've had, we've had one client that did do that, and it was not a good idea for him, because it substantially ruins your engagement. It is visible. People can see that. If you have 1,000 followers and your engagement's crazy weird, or if you bought engagement and then you did it and you went from 1,000 likes to 2 likes, like, it is wildly obvious, and it will certainly not bring you in more clientele. Do it the right way. It might not be the quickest way, but it's the right way, and that's what will work and will bring you the most revenue long term. Can Fitbut app protect us from fake accounts tackling our accounts if they aren't introduced to our Fitbut app? I swear, yeah, that's a question for you. I'm not sure if that's directed to Fitbut app. If you're there. Or maybe she's not there. Okay, cool. So that would be a question directly for Fitbud that I can't answer. All right, guys. Unless a question comes in the next 10 seconds that I end the webinar, I am going to end. If you guys have any other questions, you'd like to come up with a plan, you'd like to potentially work together. If I'm not your cup of tea, that's cool. If I am, just book a call right there under the link in the what's it called? The message that says see you in coaching, Momentum Mentors, and Fitbud. And then go ahead and book a call. We'll have a conversation, see if it's a fit or not. All right, guys. Thanks, King. You're amazing too. And I love your freaking name. That's awesome. What's my favorite ice cream? Guys, my favorite ice cream is anything with chunks in it. That's it. Gotta have cookie dough, gotta have brownie, gotta have all the good stuff. And I'll pause it there. All right, guys. Any questions? I think I put myself in there, and Ashwarya did as well in terms of Instagram. If you want to connect personally through there, if you want to book a call, we have that as well. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and then we'll disperse this, I believe, via email after for anyone who was a latecomer or missed some of this. All right, guys. Yes, you will be able to get a recording of this, Alyssa. It's all recorded, and we will send it directly via email to anyone who missed part of it. All right, guys. Fun times. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.